Hello my friends and welcome to part 8 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Solo Mode Dex Overview. So I'm gonna check to see which one I'm on. I think I was on... Hold on. Oh yeah, B Troopers. So yeah, that... So I think the last one I went over was the B Trooper of the Verdant Sanctuary. Was it? Yeah. It was, yeah, I think it was a B Trooper of the Verdant Sanctuary. So, let's move on from that to, let's see. So, was it one of these? Oh. It was, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I'm moving on to the hybrids now. Okay, I think I'm gonna go quick over the hybrids because, like, you get, like, the... I'm gonna go over the more of the, like, other deck section now, more than the B Troopers, because I talked a little bit about the B Troopers in the last video, so I'm gonna look into the Fairy Tales in this one. So, yeah, Fairy Tale Snow is a pretty good one. Once you can get enough cards, you can then banish them and, like, special summon it. This is probably better when you can, like, special summon it multiple times, but if you're only special summoning it once, like, it can still be very good if you special summon at the right time. Yeah, this is my loner deck, so this is what I was playing. So yeah. And then Luna is there to basically add the snow to the hand. And also she has some pretty good effects. Allowing you to return a card... spin a card back into a deck or X deck as long as the opponent doesn't have a card with the same name. Send one to negate it. Oh wait, no, you'd return both it and the monster to hand. So that means you can, like, basically, like, summon this again and use its effect on another turn. Yeah. And then B Trooper Salt Roller. Okay, so B Trooper Salt Roller. I already went over that pretty much. Yes, I'm just gonna go past the B Troopers right here. Oh yeah, and this one is here because it's another searcher for your other spellcasters. Yeah, basically the hybrid ones act as ways of, like, either, like, putting the, like, this one is basically here because you can, like, stack your deck with certain cards you want to see. Its pendulum effect I don't think really matters as much. I think you're mostly just using it for the monster effect. And then Perform Maple. This is probably the worst of the bunch, but at least it has a semi-decent effect, allowing you to mill your opponent every time you inflict battle damage. And then Kaiden. It's more... So, like, really... It at least has a good, pendulum scale, so... There's that. And then Kaiden has a pretty good pendulum scale, but... as well, but... it has some pretty heavy restrictions, I think. Yeah, you have to return it from your pendulum zone's hand. Actually, that's not too bad, because then you can just, like, re-put it on your pendulum scale if you want, or you can just keep it in your hand. So, like, it's not even really that big of a deal. So yeah, it's fine because you can just, like, rescale it if you want. So, like, it doesn't really have any big restrictions. So a nice scale without any, like, really demanding restrictions on it. Oppressive restrictions. So yeah. And then basically acts as a spirit if you try no summoning it. But it can be a mass board wipe, depending on the situation too. But it's mainly there because the scale is pretty good. Like a 9 is pretty high. And then card destruction. In case you need to cycle out your cards. And also because like a lot of the cards being in a graveyard are pretty good. Like snow. It also helps fill the graveyard for snow, so it's pretty good for that. Also, a lot of the cards, like, you don't mind having them in your graveyard anyway, because you can always get them back through various means. And like, having insects in your graveyard aren't bad because the Sting Lance and the Assault Ruler can banish them to special summon themselves. And then Bee Trooper Descent is there for just getting more tokens on the field, and also like maybe even destroying a spell or trap. Landing once again for the fusion sport. You do have the one really good fusion monster. And then of course Formation is another reason why you don't mind having monsters in your graveyard, because this can just special summon one of your Bee Troopers. And the Archfiend's Oath is really good, because like if you're able to add it into your hand, good. If you have sent to the graveyard, that can be okay too, because once again, if you're sending the Fairy Tale Snow, that's okay. She can just special summon herself out of that anyway. If you already have Fairy Tale Snow and just saying like whatever either to your hand or to the graveyard, she can use that as fodder for a special summon anyway, so it really doesn't matter. And then Awakening of the Possessed, because you're running a few different attributes. Quite a few different attributes, so it's good. It's good because it's good for that, and also like draws a few cards like off of the summons of Lunar and Snow, which can especially be good if you can get like Snow special summon multiple times. And then once again, Hand Destruction, another way to like refill your hand. Get stuff in your graveyard. And then Squad, just another extra material thing, turning one into like multiple. And then yeah, Hida, because you're playing a few fires. So these are because you're playing different attributes, and they also add you cards on top of it. Yeah. IP Masquerena allows you to go into a link summon on the opponent's turn, which can be really good. Because then you can like use her to go into Blacklist a soldier, and if you use a level 7, which you can also like have a quick effect like go into a level 7, so that's pretty nice. And then you can just go into this like so now it can already not be destroyed by card effects off of IP Masquerena, so that's kind of nice about IP Masquerena. But another thing is like your opponent can't target, so it might still be worth like just like using a level 7 along with IP Masquerena, even if like this kind of like does nothing. I mean, at least it's still like being protected against targeting as well, which is nice. Also Seraphim Papillon might not. I don't know, like because like either way you can only use his one of its effects. And then this is like, I mean, I guess this could also be pretty good, like going into it using IP Masquerena, if like there's like quite a few monsters. Like, I mean, this combo isn't too bad, because then you can just use IP Masquerena, and that way you can like use a bunch of your monsters. Like you can get rid of a bunch of your monsters, of your opponent's monsters on their turn, possibly to go into Underworld. Because like without IP, you wouldn't actually be able to go into this like on your opponent's turn. So, and also it's kind of cool using IP Masquerade to go into a, because now not only will it be unaffected by opponent's activated effects, but also it can't be destroyed by effects either. So they basically, so at that point, it's basically they have to like target this card with something that doesn't destroy it, which is probably like still a lot of like different ways, but like that's still actually kind of an interesting way to go about it. Um, yeah, and there's also the Asa, another one of those like ways of like getting materials out of your opponent's graveyard. Which is still pretty decent since it basically like helps to save one of the monsters used for this summon. Yeah. Okay, and then the Barricade Borg can add you your field spell. It's a way to search for it without without terraforming. Oh wow, I got all the Chalmers, I think, except for the Lena. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Oh yeah, and there's the description if you want to read it. But I think I pretty much like went over like how you want to be doing it, how you want to be basically playing the deck. And then here's the other deck. You can basically read the description if you want, but I think I have a pretty good idea of what this deck is basically trying to do. This one is more going with the leaning in harder towards the insect side of things rather than the like putting in some spellcasters. They want to like lean heavy into going into an all insect deck, kind of like what my like my own deck was like basically about. So yeah, like a lot of these are like ways of like getting insects out onto the board, or like this one can special summon like basically two more insects. So it basically turns one insect into two, but you have to have no cards in your hand in order to do it. You could also like use it to go into synchro plays, so you don't necessarily have to use the effect. Like it's pretty good, like also because like I think this is the only tuner, so this opens the gate for synchro play, which this is the only synchro right there. And then Block Spider can basically help protect attacking, and like the same with Dupe Frog. If all you control are insects and you control two of these guys, your opponent can't attack anything. Yeah, so that's like another good reason why my opponent is going all insects. Yeah. And then also this is another way to like help barrier the insects. Yeah. Yeah, this is like the other like strategy of this deck is basically putting the opponent's monsters in defense position so that like Mother Spider can tribute them off and special summon herself. Yeah, that's the other strategy of this deck here as well. So yeah, it's basically disruption and changing the battle positions in order to be able to like special summon Mother Spider. So it's got a few cards for that as well. And then yeah, and then a few of these can basically help like protect themselves as well. This is another one that can change the battle position of a monster. And since like the other lone deck is playing all insects as well, that means like it's gonna have a opponent's target if it doesn't want to target itself. Yeah. Yeah, it's got other ways of disrupting, including like banishing stuff, getting rid of stuff through various ways, destroying things. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to move on to the final two decks. So it looks like this deck is all about... This deck is like leaning hard into an insect strategy, but in like a different sort of way. It's also got the Earthbound Immortal to like take a little bit more advantage of the field spell, but instead of running the B Trooper formation, the deck's running Giant Ballpark instead, which is another fairly useful field spell for insects. And this has like some other synergy from the deck because since I'm running a few normal monsters, I can I can use the other effect to special summon. And this can also special summon quite a few normal monsters. But actually, I think the whole the better thing to do is to basically save your normal monsters and just send one of your effect monsters instead, because because what you can do with the normal monsters instead is you can add them to your hand with this guy, and then you can special summon that normal monster and destroy one of your opponent's monsters that has greater or equal attack. So that's a pretty good way to get rid of like strong monsters on the opponent's side of the field. So yeah, that's probably the better way of doing it. So like, don't necessarily be fooled by like Giant Ballpark being able to special summon the sea squatters. It's probably better just like save them for the Goki pool effect, since the Goki pool is also really good, and you can just send the Goki pool instead, because like this one activates whenever it's sent to graveyard. So you can send it to graveyard with the Giant Ballpark. I mean, sure, and then you can like, and then you're gonna get a special summon either way. Maybe not as massive a special summon, but like the destruction I think is like worth like summoning out one of these guys instead of summoning out all three. So yeah. And then Foolish Barrel is another way of sending the Goki pool as well. You can also send the Residence Insect with the Giant Ballpark or the Foolish Barrel if you don't want to do the Goki pool just yet. Since it has like effects when that's sent to a graveyard. And it's also got Retaliating Sea as a little bit of disruption, plus it can search out one of the other insects, earth insects, but that's still quite a few different targets. It has to be 1500 less attack though. But you still got quite a few like good targets for that. And then I already talked about Squad, and I already talked about the Fly Instinct in other videos. Like, just a reminder, this is basically an Omni Negate, and that can like also reset itself, which is pretty cool. So it's reusable. You just basically have to control an insect with 3000 more attack, and then you just banish any insect to reset it. So like it's a pretty easy to get out again like Omni Negate. It only actually it's not an Omni Negate, it only negates monster effects, but like still it can keep resetting itself, which is really nice. It's basically a solemn strike that can basically keep resetting itself without the but you need to control a B Trooper instead of like paying the life points. But like the resetting itself makes it really good, and having to control a B Trooper shouldn't be that hard to accomplish. And then I got a few. Once again, I'm playing the fusion along with the fusion spells. There's a Cicada King again. Like it's pretty good. It can change either one of my opponent's battle positions or my battle position. And it gets like a bonus effect if you decide to change its own battle position. And then Steel Swarm Roach to like make it so that my opponent can't just like try to beat me out by summoning like really high level monsters. Although it doesn't protect against link summons, that's still okay. Exton is really good for clearing the field. If like if like I don't really have like a really good hand, or if I just want to like try to keep my opponent like unable to like make a really big board. It can be really good. It's kind of like a mini. It's kind of like an a a double A Zeus for level 4 monsters in a way. That can also be brought out on the first turn as well, so that's pretty nice. Although you really only can use it like twice instead of like Zeus is like really to use it 3 times normally. It's still really good. Like sometimes you can only use Zeus twice anyway, so like. And I'm pretty and a thing that this has that Zeus doesn't have, which can sometimes be kind of bad, is it actually does destroy the cards while Zeus like just sends them. So that can, so just saying them can kind of come in handy, but it's still a really good card though. And then there's Alamiris. This is unaffected by trap effects while it's material. So that's a pretty cool effect right there. This one is another way to get some of the insects out from the deck, and then if you use whatever you equipped it to as a link summon, it's the equipped monster also goes to the graveyard, so that's a way to like activate that. I didn't really talk a lot about that, so I want to talk a little bit about it. Oh yeah, and then this one, as the description said in the main Duel section, this one focuses on Predaplants, which are plant monsters. So it's basically using plants plus insects. And basically the really good thing about Predaplants is like a few of the cards can like add a fusion spell, which is really good because like especially since like this deck is pretty annoying because they actually have a way to search out Super Polymerization, and Super Polymerization is a really good card in conjunction with the Ultra B Trooper, because like since I'm only playing insects too in my Loner deck, like it's pretty much no matter what I summon, they are pretty much always able to bring out the Ultra B Trooper, at least with the Super Polymerization, which is pretty crazy. I don't know if like DNA surgery really needs to be in the deck, because like I'm already like mostly playing insects, but I mean I guess like if like they need something else, can be good for that. Although I don't know what they would want besides insects. Yeah, I guess it's also kind of good since it like can also like change their like plant-based Predaplants into insects too. So maybe they can use some of those that are on the field also as material for the Ultra B Trooper, since they're actually plants. And then the Predaplant Orpheus is basically the way my opponent is able to actually like activate the effect of Darlingtonia, since it actually needs to be specified by the effect of Predaplant. And then this is another way to fusion summon without needing a fusion spell. Yeah, and then they got like, yeah, so they have quite a few different like fusion spells. This one is that new kind of like instant fusion, but it's a little bit different. It has to be a normal monster instead of it being like any fusion monster, but it's got like different like sort of different abilities. It's still got that you need to pay 1,000 life points cost though. And then they're actually running the B Trooper formation, so it's basically giant ballpark versus B Trooper formation. I think this is the one with giant ballpark. Yeah. So it's basically one field spell versus another. And then the other spells, like this is another one that can basically... Oh wait, no, it doesn't trigger the Darlingtonia since it needs to be via the effect of... But it's a way to like special summon a level 4 lower predator plant. It does negate its effects though. But since it's continuous, you can like as long as it's like kept on the field, you'll be able to do that every turn. And since it's only a soft once per turn, if you have 2 of these out, you could potentially summon 2 different ones, 2 level 4 predator plants a turn. So that's interesting. Yeah, and then the fusion deck is basically a lot of like different kinds of like super polymerization targets, while also being targets that they can get out like on their own without super polymerization, along with the Quagga Hercules for whatever reason. Oh, I guess that's because it's a red A fusion target. So they're just cheating out with red A fusion as a way to get another insect on the field to like use it for something else, since the red A fusion doesn't actually restrict it in any way other than from attacking. And then they also got the Cicada King, and then the Shinobi Insect. And then they're actually running the Predator Plant Verdant Anaconda, which is another nice card. Another way of being able to be basically making it easier to fusion summon some of their monsters. It can also send the super polymerization. And another nice thing about this one is if they're sending it to a graveyard, they don't actually have to pay costs. So super polymerization, they don't have to actually discard a card if they're like sending it off of the Verdant Anaconda, which is pretty good. I'm not sure if like it still makes it like basically a spell speed 4 where I can activate effects in response to it or not. So yeah, those were basically the decks. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and end it there, and I'll go through a quick pack opening. Okay, let's do some more legacy packs. Okay, so I got Last Warrior from Another Planet. You know what? I'll take it. That's a really good one. And now I got 3 copies of it. But I'm not sure if this is my first holo or not. So I'll definitely take a holo. Woodland Sprite, not as good, but I mean, it was pretty good in Duel Links, like back in the day, but it's not very good here. And then, I mean, this has a pretty neat special summon effect, I guess, but it could be good. But you do kind of need Gandora in order to activate its on-field effect. But at least like you can like special summon it pretty easily. That could like come in handy. And then Silver's Cry, like got a third one. That's really good for like Blue Eyes decks. Summon Reactor SK, Winged Minion, the Thing in the Crater, Doitsu, Bit Trooper, Bokoichi, the Fighting Car, Followin, Akabio Dracmord. I remember playing that like early in my early Yu-Gi-Oh days. Like I remember like I really like this card because it can keep returning itself to the owner's hand. If it like is like able to stay on the monster and destroy it, which I thought that was pretty neat. And then this one special summons no monsters from the grave, Synchro Change, Poisonous Winds, Elemental Recharge, Splash Capture, Inspiration, Ghost from the Past, and that's it. So I think my favorite card here, I guess of the new cards, I'll go with Giga Rays, since it can special summon itself from the hand pretty easily, which seems pretty neat. And then of the not new cards, I think I'm gonna go with first the Last Warrior, because it's pretty nice to get a foil of a decent enough card, since you can like since this is good in both the GOAT format and like with Waking the Dragon, so it's useful for two different reasons, which is pretty nice. I'm probably not gonna play it, but like it is nice, like in case I want to, I'll have a foil copy of it. And then Silver's Cry I'm gonna also go with, because like again, I'm probably not gonna play this, but it's nice having 3 copies, because if I think if I were to play this, I would probably want 3, maybe. Since it's a quick play reborn card, seems pretty good. So I don't know if you would want to play this at 3, but it seems but it might be useful at 3, since it's a quick play spell. Yeah. Okay, so that's gonna do it for the pack opening. And now I'll move on to the outro. I hope everyone enjoyed the both the pack opening and the deck overviews, or whichever one you decide to save for. Thank you for saying for that. Please like, share, and subscribe, and be sure to ring that notification bell for either all of my regular content or personalized regular content if you'd like. You can set personalized notifications by clicking the bell and then clicking on personalized, and that's also how you can do all. So with personalized, you will only get notified about the content that you actually are watching. So if you're only watching the Macedal content, you'll be notified of that. Anyway, if you'd like to further help me out, please be sure to leave a comment down below as well, because it helps the algorithm. It further helps get my videos out to more people. If you would like some examples of what you can comment down below, you can feel free to comment if you have any prayer requests, if you would like to further discuss the verse, if you have any thoughts on it, if you would like to give me feedback or criticism on anything that I talked about in today's video, if you would maybe like to give me some advice, that would be fine too. Also, if you would like to keep it simple, you can always post an emote as well. Just a simple emote will be good enough. Just be worried that if you post the same emote multiple times, YouTube may eventually lock you out of posting that for a few hours. So I just want to warn you about that. And also, I hope to see a lot of you in the next of this Macedal series, or in the next video that I will be posting up the next day. Bye everyone.